They had all things in common, including wives. You know how I know this? Because it came from Plato, the Republic. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, in the book of Acts, right as the early church was blowing up, was getting, you know, increasing numbers. Okay, it was fueled and ignited by something. Well, this is what it was. Pastors won't tell you this, but it really talks about it in the book of Acts, chapter 2 and chapter 4. By the way, my name is Coach Lil D, and I speak for my cousin John. And I'd like to welcome you to our brand new channel, um, on my D Daddy Justice. We had the very best news in the history of mankind. Share with anyone and everyone who use good news. Okay, but right now what we're doing is part of a series where we're talking about what Jesus taught about sex. Okay, and so this series is talking about how they had all things in common. Now, churches don't teach you this. I've never heard anybody say this, but they say, that men had all things in common. Like, just listen to it for yourself. Okay, so chapter 2 of book of Acts. It's gonna be it's gonna be kind of like a Bible class too. So I'm going to teach stuff about the Bible. Okay, so that your pastor won't teach you, because I get all my stuff from John, and John gets this stuff direct. It's crazy. Okay, Acts 2:42, and they devoted themselves to the apostles' teachings and the fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers, and all came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles, and all who believed were together and had all things in common. That's what it says. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all as any had need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, they received their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having favor with all the people. And the Lord added to their number day by day who were being saved. Okay, so did that, whatever it is causing the church to increase, whatever they're talking about. Okay, so it talks a little bit about it again at the end of chapter 4. It's like the same thing, but anytime you see something twice in the Bible, you have to pay attention to it. Okay, so it's like the same story. Sometimes you'll see that in the Bible. You'll see a story and the same thing. And sometimes you won't see it anyway. Now the full number of those who believed were of one heart and soul, and no one said that any of the things that belonged to him was in his own, but they had everything in common, like I said before. And with great power, the apostles were giving their testimony to the resurrection of the Lord Jesus, and great grace was upon them all. Okay, we're going to reference a parable. Yeah, a parable that's in all three of the synoptic gospels: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It's about the woman that has 7 husbands and are trying to figure out which one gets her in heaven. They don't even teach you the best part about that parable. They don't explain any of the parables at all. John can. I'm telling you, just stay tuned. John can explain all of them. And it makes sense. Like, they're not just stories. Just like, oh, okay, the guy went in the field. I mean, it means something. They don't talk about it. Okay. There was not a needy person among them, for as many were owners of lands or houses sold them and brought the proceeds of what was sold and laid it at the apostles' feet. Okay, feet sometimes means penis or genitals. That's what genital. Oh, I just thought about something. Gentiles, genitals, nuts, almonds. John's middle name's Almond. He's a like Paul, Apostle Paul. He's the messenger to the Gentiles. But that was interesting. Oh, Gentile. Anyway, so right, if you go on further, it talks about, okay, so John, for those y'all don't know, is the last Adam and the last Eve. John is the last Adam, and Eve is his second ex-wife. Okay, she divorced him and married Matthew, and they're living happily ever after. And he's happy for her, but he's trying to demonstrate how to respond when you get divorced, because he didn't respond the right way the first time. Okay, and he got burned. He got set up, burned bad. He wants people to learn from him. Okay, so there's stuff that's allowed in within the confines of, really, adultery is not sex outside of marriage. It's not according to the Bible. Okay, like when it says in the 10 Commandments, adultery, that right there, adultery, it always has to do with having sex with somebody that's married to someone else. Okay, adultery always involves marriage. Okay, if 2 people have sex and they're not married, that's not adultery. Okay, we define what is sexual, what is and is not sexual. It's our body, our choice. Who's they even Paul, even the Apostle Paul even says, Why should anybody determine his, you know what I'm saying? He was talking about sex in there too. Y'all just don't know about it. Really, when you get married, the husband defines what it is for the wife, and the wife defines for the husband, and that's your judge. You're not gonna, when you die or whatever, if your husband wants to watch you have sex with a bunch of other dudes, and you're worried about when you die when you have to stand before God, that it don't matter. That's not how it works. You don't have to worry about that. Your husband's your judge. Trust me, you're not gonna have to whatever and then die and then have to. You don't. We don't all stand for it. If you pick the right person at the end, you don't get judged. You pass from life to death. It's totally different than if you just die. I'm telling you, there is, and I imagine people think this too. That's not how it works. Like if you're not having, I mean, now you shouldn't be hurting people. That's the thing. You always have to. The whole thing about sex is it's always got to be. That's what the Book of James talks about. Your passions because you spend it on your passions or something. It's supposed to be the other person's, like the woman's. Okay, if a man pleases, I'm telling you, just trust me on this, boys. It's way, 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 way better. I can't even begin to describe how much better it is to have sex through a woman instead of on her. It's way better because then she's happy for the first time in her life. That's the only way to please a woman with two men at least. That's the only. Okay, maybe it's just me. I seem to date women or know women that seem impossible to please, or maybe it's just me. But there has to be other people out there. And that's why I'm telling you that will. And the Bible says she's supposed to get a double portion at the end of days. Right? DP, double penetration, double portion. The Greek, they say, oh, the rapture because God has not appointed us for wrath. Do you know what the Greek term for wrath is? Orgy. The Greek term for wrath is orgy. So whenever you see wrath, God's wrath, it's God's orgy. That's what it is. Instead of killing people, he wants everybody to have sex and just call it even. Why not? What if that's why we fight and go to war and all that stuff because we're going to have sex. Bottom line, that's it. That's why there's war. That's why we won't get along. That's why we go to war. That's why we steal, whatever. That's why. If we had enough sex, we wouldn't have any war at all. It'd be like heaven. But it is not. I don't know. Maybe it can't be just me. Is it not unethical to determine what is and is not like but not just the law for the world, the expectation of the world, but eternally? Saying, oh, having sex outside of marriage, you're gonna go to hell. However, I'll marry you for this much, and then your sin's covered. It's like you're offering a service that you can sell to cover a sin or see to it that someone goes to heaven. You're selling. That's worse than selling indulgences. And how is getting married not paying for salvation? How is it not? Could you can you get married for nothing? Okay, is getting married the only thing that can make you not be sinning since sex outside of marriage is adultery, according to them? And I know Catholics have to be thinking this way. See, I've finally convinced myself that's a bunch of bull. Read the Bible. It's vague about sexual immorality for a reason. It's very vague because we define it for ourselves. It all depends on. Y'all don't even understand why Jesus is gonna be pissed if I'll make something clear. I ain't Jesus. John ain't Jesus, right? But we know him well, okay? And all I'm saying is, I need to get through this. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Okay. I guess I'll read the other part. But what it all thing in common, like I'm getting to, is wives also. Wives were considered property. They were property. And the reason I know for sure it's all things in common is because in the Republic is like Plato's best whatever work. It talks about justice, which is the name of God. Plato talks about his ideal society of the ruling class, the people that make all the laws, I guess it would be like the Congress, I guess, if there was a president or something, but it wouldn't be a president. Because what it would have, it would be like, ideal would be maybe 4 couples, right? 8 people. But they don't make any money. Like, I guess they get to live there for free or whatever. And I guess they'll have some money for their expenses, but they're not trying to their concern is the people and making the land. That's what they're concerned. And because they know they'll get taken care of by other people anyway. The people can be paying, you know what I'm saying? But they want no bribes or nothing like that. Like today. You wouldn't be around if you're trying to bribe people anyway. So if you're bribing people, you want to stop. Um, but no, so that's what it was. They shared everything. So wives, so they had big orgies or whatever, had sex. I mean, you're not supposed to just sit with one person your entire life. That's evil. That's an evil God you serve. If your God thinks that, believes that, Jesus never said nothing like that. Quite the contrary, I must say. Now, I'm probably gonna have to make the part two of this because Mary is about to come in. Mary ain't cool. Her and Jesus never got along. I don't know why people don't understand this. They did not get along. She did not believe him. Read Book of Mark. She said, okay, she thought he was crazy. It means she didn't believe him. If she believed him, she wouldn't have thought he's crazy. You read that, okay, Matthew and Luke left that part out because they were trying to prove that Jesus is God, Jesus is the Son of God, which they ain't supposed to be doing, but they did anyway. Like I was saying, what was I saying? No, oh, well, okay, so just listen to this parable. My point is, let me finish with that. So the kids too. So you don't know whose kids they are, right? And it's not your kid. Like you'll be, who knows, you might rotate houses in every single night, whatever y'all want to do. But there's no favoritism that way. There's always a favorite child. Always. And it always is some kind of animosity. And remember, we gotta stop that. And it's something we can't even help. But that would, and then you have other societies that are like that. And you have your own homeschool or something. That's what I would do. If I was people, if you want to homeschool your kids, do something like that. That's why property is going up so much, because we're supposed to start living in community. We got people living in big houses. I love y'all. Peace.